What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lean and Lionhearted podcast. I'm your host, AJ Quimson, IFBB Pro, and I'm here with my friend Mark Lopez, owner of Five Walnut Construction, all the way out in Long Beach. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
How was the drive over?
Cruising, man. Cruising. We just carpool lane, smashed through. It was good.
Did you bring the G-Wagon?
Yeah. We did. We were running a little late, I thought, so I was like, oh man, I better take that. So we just cruised in the carpool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, funny story. Mark and I met at WealthCon in Vegas a couple months ago, and I remember him specifically because he was like, oh man, they broke the back window of my G-Wagon.
Crazy.
And I was telling my wife, I was like, man, this dude, he got his window broken into, and he had to drive all the way back from Vegas to Long Beach. How was the drive with no window?
You know what? It's crazy. It's like first world complaints. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have a G-Wagon and there's no window, right? But it was like, dude, it was like 100 degrees, right? And it's like the wind's blowing real loud. You know, you can't really like talk or whatever on the phone or something, but it is what it is. Just like a couple hours of driving without a window. Yeah. But yeah, no, we're grateful. Like, wasn't too crazy, you know?
Yeah, the crazy part, they did that and they didn't even sell any, or they didn't even steal anything.
They didn't even steal anything. They just broke the windows and rummaged through the car and then bounced, you know?
That's crazy. Was there anything out like to look at, or you think they just...
No, there was nothing out. And I think they had a hard time breaking the window. They tried to break the front driver's window and it didn't really break. And then in the back window, that one didn't really break either. They kind of used like a crowbar or something to like pop the whole window out, because the windows are pretty thick on the G-Wagon. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I think they had trouble breaking it, so they just like popped the whole window out.
And you just got it back, right?
Yeah, so I just got it back. I think it was gone for just over 2 months or something like that. And yeah, they had to bring the parts in from Germany, so it was just a thing. But it was cool, like we weren't putting miles on it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the first time that we met. And then a mutual acquaintance, one of my old clients, and my friend Ant, he put us in a group chat together. He didn't tell me really who you were.
It's wild.
He does that all the time. He just puts me and somebody else in a group chat. Yeah. And then we hopped on that Zoom call. I was like, I think I know you.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, so I went there. I pulled my hammy. So I was like, oh, I went to Ant for treatment. And then, you know, he's like asking you like life questions while he's like working on you. And he's like, oh, like, you know. So we started chopping it up, and he's like, oh man, I want to introduce you to my friend. And then he like connected. And then when I started connecting the dots, I was like, I wonder if it's Vegas. And then here we are, you know? So it's cool.
Yeah, it's funny. He always asks you really deep questions when he's about to do something that hurts really bad.
My gosh, man. Yeah. He was in there like on the site, like sciatica. And he was asking like, tell me about your family. Like, you know, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, he's elbow deep, and he's like, what's your purpose in life?
100%, man. Yeah.
That's funny. Ant's good people though. But yeah, man. So you own Five Walnut Construction, and you work with your wife, right?
Yes.
Tell us about your dynamic in business together. Like, what's the best parts of working with your wife, and what's the worst parts?
Yeah, man, it's really cool. Like, some people, like, you know, they're like, I don't want to work with her. Like, I need my space, whatever. But like, it's really cool. Like, I can be laser focused on some things, but I could be all over the place on something else. And we just kind of have like a good dynamic of her covering what I'm not really good at covering, and I'm good at some of the stuff she's not great at. But we enjoy each other's company, so it's cool working together. I think like the good news is like, oh, like we actually work out a fair amount of time together. We kind of like try to eat the same meals. We're kind of on similar meal plans, so we kind of eat the same meals, different portions, but we eat the same meals. And then we just kind of like have an office that we share, and she does her thing and I do my thing, and we're able to like manage picking up the kids and things like that. There's a ton of cool stuff about working together with my wife Rihanna. The maybe not great part is that sometimes it can blend into like our actual family time, right? So it's like, oh, like we have this like big project we're working on. There's like a lot of communication with a client that we have to keep up with, and it'll bleed into like us talking about it while I'm like coaching our kids soccer, or like, you know, we do our best to manage it outside of work or outside of home, but sometimes we're at dinner and we're hearing about the kids' days, and she's like, oh, like, did you respond back to, you know, Jim? And it's like, man. So sometimes it's like hard to like create those clear lines. If the last thing I'll say is like the hardest thing is like, oh man, like we're like laying in bed chilling, and I'm thinking about like the future or this or that, and she's like, hey, did you get back to whoever? And I'm like, bro, give me a minute, right? But we've like established those lines now, so it doesn't happen as much. But that was definitely something we had to like learn over time. But I think it's like my life's the shit, bro. Like my life's dope because like I hang out with my wife's my best friend. I get to hang out with her. We talk business, and we're able to like communicate about moves together. So it's cool, man. We just like partner on life together, you know? It's dope.
You guys do basically like everything together.
We do a lot together. She definitely has like her like group of girls, and they're probably talking about me. And then I got my, friends that like we go hang out. So we definitely have our moments, with like our different times, and we're like chilling. But it is cool to like, I guess like have like shared goals and then kind of go after them together. Yeah, it's dope.
Do you guys have like any tactics for like having separation in terms of like you go to some meetings, she goes to other meetings, so that you have stuff to talk about later on in the day, or do you guys just do everything together?
No, that's a good question. So generally, most of it's actually pretty separate. So she's in like a women's mentorship where it's all women investment type mentorship. So she's on like Zoom calls with them quite a bit. And then I'm part of, the Wealthy Way program. So that's Ryan Pineda's program. And I'm on like Zoom calls with my groups, and then we'll circle back and say like, hey, I think we should try to go after this kind of investment, or that's on the investment side. So there's two parts. Five Walnut Construction, she helps with the communication, and then I, basically manage the teams. For our investment side, we're definitely working fully apart, and then we'll bring it back together just to communicate like, I think we should go after this type of building, or maybe we should try to flip a house. So we communicate on that, but we're definitely working in different pods, and then we'll bring our ideas together. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's super interesting because my wife's up there, and we work together. We're here at the house all day together, and there was a point when we lived in her parents' house. We shared a room, so we're together 24/7.
It's a little tight.
And we're always in the same place. We're always doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's hard to be like, "How was your day?" It's like, I don't know. I was already here, so there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Did you guys always kind of have that separation in work, or did you have a similar thing?
Well, before, so I worked at a job where it's like a sales job, and I was like traveling a lot. And then she worked at like Long Beach City College, right? So our days were fully separate. And then we'd get together like at the end of the day, like she grabs the kids, we're all back home, one family. It just kind of like took a big turn once we like worked together at home. Once we started Five Walnut Construction, then we started like spending our days together, really like, working on a shared goal together. But it was like at the beginning, it was like, oh, this is dope. Like we're like hanging out, like we're sharing an office, like everything's cool. But then after a while, I was like, oh, dang, like, like you kind of like stuck in a room together it gets a little tight, right? So that's when we was like, oh, like I'm going to the gym, she's going to the gym. We go to the gym together, but we split up. Or she's going to lunch with a friend, I'm going to lunch with some clients, whatever, right? So we split up quite a bit. But yeah, it's crazy. We're kind of like in the same space, but we're doing different things, So yeah, it's dope, man. I really like it though. Like it's cool.
Yeah. That's good. So you guys are really like true best friends.
Dude, she's my best friend. And like we'll go to lunch with like with clients together. We'll just like, meal prep or something, eat together at home. Like she's my homie, So yeah, it's dope.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's me and my wife. Like we're together all the time, but it's still fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like more couples are doing that, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't you feel like more people that are like kind of going that route? Maybe not like having to head into an office as much. They're kind of working at home, and you just like, damn, like who's gonna cook lunch? Like you just kind of figure it out, right?
Well, I feel like it's two things. When you are that, you tend to gravitate towards people that are like that too. You know what I mean? Like we don't have a lot of single friends because like I've been around dudes and they're like, oh dude, I wonder if this girl likes me. I'm like, I really don't care, bro. Like I'm married, it doesn't matter to me.
They're swiping and stuff like that. Yeah, you're kind of past that.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not something that I think about anymore.
Yeah.
And then the second thing would be if they've been together longer than 3 years, you made it through the worst part, which was COVID, where you had to be in there. And I know a lot of couples that broke up because they couldn't handle being in that space together.
That was a heavy time, bro. Yeah.
What were you guys doing during that time?
So we were surviving. Like in construction, it took off. It was crazy busy during COVID. So construction was really good for us. But the kids were home. So we have 3 kids, right? and it was like online learning, and I don't even know how to log on to anything that they were doing.
You're not a tech guy.
So the school would call and be like, oh, like, your son hasn't, completed these. And I'm like, dude, I don't even, like, this is crazy. I don't even know. And then I would see them on the Zoom, and then like half of the kids got their head down. It's like, man, let's just get through this together as a family. It'll come back to normal soon. So yeah, we just kind of survived it. But we just try to make it as fun as we could at home, trampolines and, but we kept it moving in house. Like there's a lot to do at our house. It's, I think, a fun house. There's not really a lot of, it's not a boring house. There's a lot going on.
So you and your wife weren't really stuck at home because you still had work to do.
Yeah, no, every day of COVID, I was on the road. So the days where like everything was shut down and there was like nobody on the freeway, I was on the freeway. Like
cruising.
I was on the freeway, and they said that it was like, I forget what the vernacular they used, but it was like something. What do they call it? Employment? It was like necessary employment.
Oh, like primary or something.
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
something like a needed personnel to work.
Yeah.
And construction fell into that. So a lot of people were like trying to build their office from homes. Well, we could build it. Or they were trying to build like an additional dwelling unit. We could build it. So I was really busy during COVID. Like 6 days a week.
Dang.
We were on it. Yeah.
Okay. So was that when things really took off for your business, or were you guys already doing crazy before, or doing really well before then, and then it just kind of went nuts?
Yeah, we were already kind of at capacity, and then it was like, now it was like, oh, we almost have to build the team out a little bit bigger because there was like an influx, but yeah, we were kind of pretty like at a good speed already. Like we were moving smooth enough for my wife to leave her job, join the company, and we're like, oh, let's grow this. And then COVID happened. Yeah. So it all just kind of worked out, like God's timing.
Oh, that's pretty good timing.
Yeah. No. But yeah.
Was it hard to find people to work because they were like scared about COVID or anything, or was it pretty easy to find?
No, man, Mexican dudes, bro, like, and like Guatemalans, you know what I mean? Like they were just like, this isn't even real. Like they had like all their theories at Home Depot. They were like real strict about, wearing respirators, and like my guys, they would like, man, I'm not wearing that thing. Like this is crazy. Like I drink tequila. Like I got this. That's how they like a lot of them looked at it. They would literally were not afraid. They're like, man, I breathe drywall stuff. Like I'm good. And like, I mean, like maybe one person where they like lived with their mom, but everybody else is like a lot of single guys that are on our team. They're just not worried about it.
Yeah. Were you worried about it at all?
I was like, I thought like, I was in the military before, and I got like a lot of shots before all the whole, like maybe the COVID shot's a bad thing and all that controversy. You get so many shots when you're in the military. So I was just like, man, they've already put so many shots in. Like I've already had like 30 shots. I think I'm all right. And I just kind of like, but I was like, want to be respectful of like people that were elderly or things like that, and like follow the laws. But I didn't want our company to get shut down or anything, but I wasn't like real worried about it. I just like, I guess like I just worried like, oh man, are my kids going to be good? But like no kids were getting sick. So it's like, oh, like, well, my kids will be good. Like we just got to like survive it. So we're there for our kids, but I wasn't crazy worried about it.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I wasn't tripping on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, if other people are, I don't mind putting on a mask. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But shutting down the world was like, it's a little much.
It was wild, man. We actually went to Vegas because they had these days where there was like hotels for $18 or something in Vegas.
They still got that.
Yeah.
At the Rio.
Right. Well, I mean, like we stayed at like someplace cool, like on the strip, and it was like dead, right? But when we went to like, I think we went to have dinner somewhere like in the Venetian or something, and it was like COVID didn't exist there. Like there was like some glass screens at some of the bar areas, but there was just people like still, I think the rule was like no smoking or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like, if you had a drink in your hand, you didn't have to wear a mask. So there was like almost nobody wearing a mask in like some of these peak times of COVID in Vegas. Yeah. But in California, it was like full lockdown. Like people were like locked into their house.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It was so different just to see like geographically, like Vegas, oh, it's still popping. Or you go to Arizona, people are like chilling in Havasu. And then here in Cali, it was like pretty locked up. It was like, it's like interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, it was crazy because the weekend before everything shut down, I was in Vegas with my friends for my friend's bachelor party. And we were like, oh, should we even be here? Yeah. And then, we had the bachelor party, we left. And then the next weekend, everything was gone. And we saw the pictures of Vegas, and it's a ghost town.
Yeah. No, it was definitely shut down for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
Like, when it was crazy, like, so many things happened in a row, right? So, like, I think, like, Kobe just died, right? Like, in January. So, like, end of January, Kobe died, and it was like, you know, then this whole thing happened. It was like, I mean, like, Kobe dying, that was like, I felt like that was a big thing for anybody that was, like, a crazy fan.
You a big Kobe fan?
Oh, dude, I, like, literally cried like a family member died. Like, Kobe's been around my, like, whole life of watching basketball, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, like, you know, I just felt I was real sad when Kobe died. Like, I cried, and so then that happened, and then it was like, wait, Kobe died, and now, like, the world's on fire? This is crazy, right? So let's settle down for a second, you know, and just hug our loved ones and stay close. Yeah, it was crazy, man.
Yeah, that when Kobe died, it was crazy because we were actually at the LA Fit Expo, which is right outside Staples Center.
Yeah.
And it happened the day that we were working it. So we were there in the morning, and then everyone's just running around the booth. They're like, Kobe died, Kobe died. And we were like, what? In a helicopter? That sounds like fake, bro.
Yeah, I don't believe it, right.
Yeah, and then, you know, we see the posts and stuff. We're like, damn, he really died.
Yeah.
And then we leave at probably 7 o'clock at night, and there's just a sea of people with like flowers and crying like outside the Staples Center. It's the Staples Center, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were crying outside, and I was just like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Man, me and my good friend, we drove down there, and we're like there at the Staples Center.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, we were there, and like, I felt like there was like a little bit of healing just being around all these people that like loved him so much and like were real sad.
Yeah.
That it was like, you know, you almost like had like it was almost like that was a funeral or something. I felt like a little bit of peace from that. It's like, oh man, he's so loved. But I was like real sad that not only he passed, but his daughter passed. Yeah. It was like, man, that part, you know, just, I guess like that's still, you know, I still feel that, you know, for his wife and for his family. It's like, man, that's so heavy, dude.
Yeah.
You know, parents' worst nightmare, you know?
Yeah. I thought it was on the, I don't want to call it the bright side, but in the inspiring side, seeing all those people come together for his death, I was like, damn, he really made a crazy impact on the world.
Crazy, right? It's crazy. You never know, right? It's like people think you're just a basketball player.
Yeah. But like it really means a lot to a lot of people. I can see you're getting like a little teary-eyed right
now. Yeah,
it's
crazy, bro. Hey, man, seriously, love Kobe, right? So it's like, and then you had like all this hope for his daughter, and then it's like went like that. So it's like, I don't know, man. I guess you kind of see it through your own lens. It's like, you know, man, I just want like the best for my kids and for their future, and it can all just go away quick, right? Yeah. So like, do your best, I guess.
Yeah. So this is like a super random question.
Yeah, fire away.
I saw this question. Like, is if there was a Hall of Fame for best lives ever lived to you, who would be in your list? Just one person.
That just like shook me a little bit.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame for best life ever lived.
Yeah, someone that you think lived one of the best lives.
Man, that's such a great question. I think like my I'm not even like trying to like win points here, but like my wife, dude. My wife's like, she's not like famous or anything like that, but anybody that meets her like loves her. And she's really good, and she always like can find the best in people. Like, I mean, I have like some people around that like I could care less about them, and she can find like good in them, or say like, man, I can really see their perspective. So what happens is that when she lives like that, our daughters get some of that, and I've like changed because I'm around that, and people that are around her get some of that. So it's like she's not on this like crazy global scale, but just like in her piece of the world, she just like goes into it with this like positive outlook on stuff. And I think she gets like, just from who I know, you know what I mean? She's like lived a good life, dude. Like, damn, like if you had 50 or 70 or 80 years of just being positive and like seeing the best in people, that's a pretty dope life, right? So I learned from that because I'm not as positive as her. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's cool, man. So it's like, she kind of does the affecting people like Kobe, but on a 1-to-1 scale. Not like a 1
for sure. How about you? What do you think about that? Like, do you have like a Arnold or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, like who do you think's like? I mean, like really, like who do you think like made that kind of like impact?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had this weird thing where I never wanted to call anyone my idol or anything like that. I never wanted to put anybody on a pedestal, even when I was young.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a way, I would say kind of Arnold, like if you just look at his story overall. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's in like my top whatever, but he is a good one to mention, you know. Yeah. I mean, he came from Austria, was he was working construction all day, and then he would, weight lift for 3 hours a day and do crazy stuff, and he became the best in the world, and then he became the governor of California and movie star and all that
Went
stuff.
for it. Yeah.
So I mean, like, in terms of hard work and success and determination and being who you say you are and doing the things that you say you're going to do, like, I mean, I would say he's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked you a question I probably couldn't answer myself, so
No, it's fair. Well, I was hesitant to say, I almost said, like, man, with like love and respect, I hope you, like, no ego, but I almost said me, because like I'm going for it, because I really am hitting the gas pedal. Like, I'm just trying to get as much out of the world. I'm here, you know what I mean? I've been around people that aren't here, you know what I mean? That almost wish they had more time, wish they had another shot. So it's like I've learned from some of that, these people that didn't get another shot, or they were born with a disability, or they were born sick, or they're not, you know what I mean? Or their lives were cut short. So it's like, man, with what I do have, I'm trying to hit the gas pedal, you know what I mean? So, so I'm just trying to say, I'm just trying to get the most out of it. And I think I learned from people like my wife and Arnold and, like, like people going for it. You can spot who's going for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal. If you ask someone who's one of the best lives ever lived, and they say me, then I mean, you lived a pretty damn good life.
Gives me chills, bro. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, go for it, man.
That's pretty cool, man.
I love it.
So going back to Five Walnut Constructions, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that you always kind of had in your head that you wanted to build, or did it just happen to you one day? How did that come about?
That's a great question. So, I think I always thought I could do it, right? So my dad was a builder. He built the house that I grew up in, and his dad built the house that he grew up in, right? So I just felt like it's kind of in my bloodline to be a builder. It wasn't something I really pursued. I just always thought it was in the back of my head, like something I could do. So I went to, like, the military, went to college, Cal State Long Beach, did the whole college thing, and, like, kind of was, like, lost as to what I'm going to do. But I always thought, man, one day I'm going to build a house and my family could live there. But I think as, like, I started getting around more business people in corporate America, I started realizing there was something to, like, investing in properties, right? And I thought, like, oh, like, at some point I'm going to have to make a jump. And I just started kind of saying it. Whether or not I fully believed it, I just kind of kept saying it, like, oh, one day I'm going to start a construction company and I'll build properties that I can then own and rent out. And my initial goal was to own one property for every kid, right? So, like, my dad, he died when I was 10, and it was like, my mom's left with 6 kids, right? So I just thought, like, but he did have a house that he built, you know what I'm saying? And they had a house they originally bought, so they had a rental. So I just kept thinking, like, if something happens to me and I die young, at least my kids will each have a house. So that was our original goal, was like, I have 3 kids, I want to have 3 houses. And I think a construction company could help us get there. So when I left corporate America and, started Five Walnut, it was like, okay, we're going to work for clients, have some active income, and then we'll park it in investments. And we'll have 1 house per every kid. And then I think if you really go for it, it doesn't take that long to get to 3 houses if you're really going for it. So then it's like, okay, well, now we have a house for each kid. How do we get to a house and a rental for each kid? And then you get there, and then you're like, okay, maybe it's a house and 5. But I don't know what it is yet, but it's like, oh, maybe we're overshooting our goal. Maybe it's like to build veteran housing, or maybe it's to build some other type of facility, or maybe we're supposed to build something in Guatemala for, like, orphanage. I don't know yet. But sorry, I kind of danced around a little bit, but I always thought in the back of my mind, like, yeah, I'll just figure that out. Like, that's in my blood, Yeah. I think, like, that was kind of put in on me young.
Okay. So it was like I know I can always do this and fall back on it if nothing else ever pops up in my head.
Yeah, if science doesn't work out, right? Yeah. Like, I can always, like, just pick up a hammer and figure it out,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was going to ask you about the getting houses for your kid thing. Because there's usually, like, different schools of thought. Like, you either want to give your kid everything, everything that you wanted them to have, and make sure that they're set up, or you don't want to give them anything. You want them to earn it on your own.
100%.
Why do you think you chose that way?
So, yeah, I'm hearing you. Like, I know some, like, some people that are like, oh, I'm not giving them anything, so they have to, like, work for it, and that's where they get the strength, right? But I think I've kind of been able to grow because I didn't have that, right? So I hear that school of thought. But I've also seen, like, people start, like, if it was a race, I've seen people start way ahead and then build it into something else that was crazy, right? So for me, it was like, well, let me just cover safety. So safety's like, oh, like everybody has a house to live. There's a housing shortage in America. I just want my kids, like as a dad, man, let me just make sure my kids have a place to live forever, right? But I think what I try to instill in them is that this isn't the goal. This was my goal. Your goal should be like to build onto this something crazy, right? So like you think about people that like, migrated to America. It's like their goal was to come to America and to be able to buy a house. But that wasn't the goal for their kids. Their goal for their kids were like, man, you could own a business, or you can own a banking system. Like you can really take off with this thing. I just got us here, right? Like this was my win. Now you have some like steam. Now you can really win. So like my kids know that, man. They're like there when we sign documents on properties, where I have them like sit in there with the what do you call it? The
notary?
Yeah, with the notary, right? So they'll sit there with the notary, ask questions. We talk about interest rates. We talk about all of it with our kids right there at the table. For them, I want it to be normal. Like buying a house is normal. For me, I was never in the room when somebody bought a house. So I was like nervous and sweating and like praying like, Jesus, is this going to work out? You know what I mean? It's like the first house is real scary and then the second one's not. And the third one's not at all, right? So it's like, I just want my kids, it to be like a normal day. We're just buying another house, right? That's what I want it to be like. But this isn't the goal. The goal, now you're already safe. Now it's like, well, let's build on this. And I've hit my gas pedal. Now you got to hit your gas pedal, So that's my thinking on it. It's like set them up, but like, man, you still got to go. You can't just chill.
Okay, yeah. So you're trying to show them like what their normal should be, and just showing them like life and making it kind of a foundation for them to build off of.
Yeah, just a foundation. And it's like, man, you got like what's a no is you can't just chill. Yeah. You got to hit the gas pedal.
Okay, so you're kind of instilling the work ethic in them anyways. Okay.
This isn't like, this isn't like the country club, bro. You got to go, so.
Okay, so that's how you're trying to get around that.
Yeah, that's my thinking. We'll see if it works. I don't know.
Do you want them to be part of the business in the future, or do you want them to have their own thing?
I don't want to put it on them. So that's kind of why we're like trying to diversify our business a little bit. It's not just relied on construction. It's not even just relied on investments or property investments. I want them to be able to like really have the like ability to be who they feel called to be. But really just the work ethic is like, okay, if you want to be committed to soccer, then commit, man. You got to get up early and stay late sometimes. If you really want to ice skate, or if you want to like do art, let's go to it. Like do a little bit of art every day and see where it takes you, right? So like the work ethic is like what I'm more passionate about. I'm not real worried about like what the thing is. It's more like, man, I just want you to go, like give it your all, Yeah. So like when you talk about like who lived a full life, it's like, man, the full life might be the dude that like just drew waves every day, but like went for it, Like Galileo just staring at the stars, like he went for it, So yeah, just go for it.
Okay, so you're more about just fulfillment.
Yeah,
and then obviously be safe. Like, don't be broke.
Yeah, no, and be good. Don't lie, right? Like, just tell the truth. Like, let's go. Yeah. Don't be broke for sure. Gotta eat, dude. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. That's cool. So, in terms of the business, right? You have different avenues or branches of the business, right? Like, but what do you think you guys special in, if anything?
So we're definitely special in like custom home remodeling, right? And we kind of reached our limit with that. Like I'm only so much of a designer, and so is my wife. So we started partnering with designers or referring designers to clients. And the designers, I mean, they could just look at something and they can like see it. So for us, it's like we want clients to partner with designers, get like this crazy vision, and then you tell us what to build and we can build it. So I felt like we were special at that. Now we're starting to slide more. I mean, we're still doing that, but we're sliding more into like, okay, if we buy a property, like if Five Walnut Investment bought a property and hired Five Walnut Construction to flip it, right? So we're starting to get more into like the investment game. So it might be like an investment property that's for sale, that was, I guess, like designed and completed by Five Walnut, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that was like our specialty. What do you think about you? Like, what do you feel like your specialty is in like your like workout realm and like coaching realm? Like what's your, like, I don't want to call it a niche, But like, what's your thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. People ask me that all the time, and I think it's just the fact that I was fat and then I was small and then I became, a pretty good bodybuilder. And so I've been everywhere in between. Outside of going to the Olympia, I've done everything that you could do, like physique wise.
Okay.
And so being able to use that knowledge, but put it in a more sustainable way, because I've been on every extreme. I've been on the extreme where I just eat whatever I want and I can't stop, right? And I've been on the other extreme where I won't eat anything that's not, chicken breast, tilapia, and rice. And it's like, I'm not gonna do that forever. So I think trying to find the optimal way and kind of being more personable and trying to figure out a more tailored approach for someone to be fit in their life, because like, if it was me coaching you, right, and I was like, eat 6 meals a day because I'm a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
Eating 6 meals a day for you as a construction guy, probably not really that feasible.
Yeah.
And so it's just, there's certain ways to do things, but there's a lot of ways that you can optimize it for your life, like things that you need to worry about and things that you don't really need to worry about.
Yeah.
And so just making it more of a lifestyle change so that one day you can kind of take it on your own and do it without me is kind of the most important part.
Do you feel like most of your clients have like a vision of like what they really want? Or do you think like, I'm gonna ask like a 2-part. So like, do you think that they like have a vision of what they want? And do you think it like kind of lines up with your vision? And the reason why I'm asking that is like, I think sometimes like people say like, oh, I just want to like paint this room and maybe add some lighting, but they really deep inside want this full remodel, but maybe they don't feel like they're worth remodeling their house completely, right? And I'm not trying to like steer anybody, but sometimes like the clues show me that they actually want more than that. They just don't know if it's for them, like, or if they're, it's deeper. It's like self-worth kind of thing. Do you feel like that? Like,
100%.
Okay.
Right. So I ask specific questions trying to probe the answer out of you, because most people, they're not even really sure what their goal is. They're like, I want to be healthier. Like, what does that mean? Like, if we had to describe that, what does that mean?
Yeah, lean
and
muscle mass.
They're like,
right?
I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay, do you want to lose fat or build muscle? Everyone always says both, like those are two separate things, right? And it's like, okay, well, how lean do you want to be? How much muscle do you want to have? And so I kind of have to guide them to them coming to their own answer. And from their answers, I can usually tell kind of early on, like what they really want. And then along the way, you just have to figure out whether someone is shortchanging themselves on goals because of their own self-belief or what they think it's going to take to get to the goal, or they actually just don't want it.
Wow.
Like, I had this client I was working with for 6 months, Kyle. I posted him recently, but I remember on our initial call, he said, I don't want abs. I know what it takes to get abs, and I just don't want to do that. And he was super into keto. He had gone from 300 pounds to I think 180 pounds before.
Wow.
So he'd done that on his own previously, but obviously he fell off and it wasn't sustainable for him. And I was like, okay, you don't want abs. I think you want abs, but it was just because he thought that it was going to take a lot of suffering and inconvenience for his life to get to that six pack. And so he thought it wasn't worth it. Yeah. And so I had to basically rewire his thinking about nutrition and training and fitness. And then now he has abs and he posts a shirtless selfie every day on his story.
Let's go, Kyle. Yeah.
So, it's like kind of being able to break somebody's beliefs and then also show them the way that they can do it within their own life, so that like you can have it all outside of looking like you're stage lean every single day. You can look good and you can still eat sushi and, do all this other stuff. It's just, you have to build yourself to the point where you can do that. And you have enough knowledge and willpower to say like, it's like budgeting your money. If you have $3,000 to spend, doesn't matter if you spend it at the end of the month or you spread it out evenly, like you just got that 300 or 3,000. And so it's just kind of understanding like, if I want this thing, I want this, I don't know, Louis bag or something like that, then I probably can't spend a lot of money earlier in the month on some other dumb stuff, right? And so it's just kind of rewiring someone's brain to not think, no, I can't have this, and think more, is this worth what I'm going to have to spend on it? And if I am going to think it's worth it, how do I adjust with everything else that I'm doing to make it happen?
Let me ask you this. Do you think that, I fully am hearing you on that. Do you think that there's like, all like the percentage out of like 1 out of 100, how often do you think there's like emotional, like something that's holding them back from that, right? So like when somebody gets like really obese or they get way out of shape, is it something that's like, oh, we just live in America and we just kind of like consume? Or is it like, oh no, dude, like there's like a deep like self-worth thing, or there's like a trauma or something like that got them into this spot?
I think, I don't know the percentage, but I would say it happens more often than not, right? Like you have a poor relationship with food. You don't know how to handle stress. So you just stress snack or you stress eat, or maybe you just don't eat at all. Or, there's a lot of different reasons that people do that. And then on top of that, they've heard so much different fitness advice that when they try to get in shape, they're doing the most extreme things because someone wrote in a magazine, here's how to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, which is not good, no matter how big you are, and so then they have that idea, like, this is how I'm supposed to do it and I can't do it. And then that self-worth or that self-confidence starts going down because they're like, dude,
that makes me sad. Just hearing that makes me kind of sad.
Yeah.
Thinking about people, like that many people like trying and then they don't know. So then they stop and then they feel like shit. Yeah. So then they eat crappy, right? To feel better, right? It's like the cycle.
Well, it's kind of like, I equate it to you trying to show your kids signing for houses, right? If everyone around you is out of shape, nobody knows how to get in shape, where are you going to get that example from? Where are you going to get that belief that it's possible? Because nobody around you is doing it. It's just like the superstars or whatever, right? So, like if you grow up and no one's ever buying houses around you, it's not normal to you, but you're making it normal to your kids. And so it's kind of like most people don't have that role model or someone to look up to be able to have that belief that it's possible. Because that belief that it's possible is kind of like the biggest thing, like if you don't know anybody that owns a business, you're not going to think to own a business. If you never see it anywhere, it wouldn't even occur to you.
No, for sure. No, bless you for that, dude. I like to hear it like that because I feel like that, like when I'm in a building, somebody owns the building, right? Like this big building. And I think for all this time, it was like, oh, those buildings were for those people, the building owners. Mm-hmm. But it's, it's like, it's not for those people, it's for us people, right? And it's the same thing with people that are in shape. It's like you go to the beach, dude's ripped. You're like, oh, that's for those like people that are like crazy workout people. But it's not like, oh, that's for us people. You know what I mean? Or for my kids or grandkids or for me and my wife, the belief system, dude. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, that's partially why I wanted to have the podcast, is just, it's hard for people to see that the people that might have it now were just like them before.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have looked at my page and they're like, oh, well, he's in really good shape. He's always been in shape. I'm like, nah, man, I used to eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's every other day.
Oh my God, bro. Yeah. Dang.
So it's like, I've been through all those things. It's just because I'm better at it now doesn't mean I never went through it. But that also shows people that if I did it, you could do it too. There's nothing special about me. I'm just a regular guy. Like you could do it too if you develop that mindset and the grit.
I like that. No, you're the right guy for it, man. I like that, dude. I like that. Well, because you know what it felt like too.
Yeah.
Like I know what it felt like when I couldn't afford our first house. I felt depressed. Like I'm never going to live in this neighborhood that my wife wants to live in. I'm never going to have these things. We're just going to have to settle, right? Like I remember feeling like that. And I still get like that when I think about big, when I start dreaming big.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe the people around me that are saying I'm tripping, maybe they're right. Like you start like questioning your dreams. Yeah. And it's like, no, dude, it's not for those people, man. I have to believe it's for us. Like I got that dream for a reason,
So how did you deal with that when you had that feeling? You're like, oh man, I don't make enough money. I'm not giving us the life that I think we deserve or that she deserves.
Yeah. I think I started to binge eat. No, I'm really serious. Like I used to like hide chips in the trunk of my car because my wife was like pretty on like my, like, hey man, you don't want to eat unhealthy. And I had this like chip addiction. So I would just like hide them.
What kind of chips though?
Like, oh dude, you name it, bro. Like I'm not, discriminate. Like I didn't discriminate. Like I ate all kinds of chips and, my kids they would like open the trunk and see like, mom, dad's hiding chips in the trunk. Right. Like, oh man. But yeah, I would go on these like little on and off runs, but I would get down and then like not, you just get kind of like depressed that like that's for them, not for us. But I think what happens is like, if you get like a little win, you're just like, oh, I'm going to just go for like a walk. I remember when I first started trying to run again, it's like, let me just go for a walk. And then you like feel kind of good from walking. It's like, oh, I'm going to walk again kind of faster. And then you start like walking, you like don't even feel worthy you're running. Then you get a little run in and then you're like, man, I think I'm going to go to the gym. I don't even know what to do there. You go there and like kind of get lost in it. But I know how to run. I'll just keep running, right? And then once you kind of hit a wall with that, you're like, when I started getting in the gym, I begged for help, dude. Like I started realizing that was like a big moment for me, was to realize I need to beg for help. So if I don't know what to do about real estate, I beg for help. I go to like Ryan Pineda's team and I beg for help. Like, how did you do this? How did you guys wait? So don't buy, like, I want to know everybody's thoughts and then I'll make a decision on it. But it's the same thing with like working out. It's like, oh man, I need help. And people are like, oh, like go to this guy, whatever. And it's like, no, I need help. I need help. I need help. Like, I can't do this. I need help. So that's one thing I'm not shy about anymore is I'll beg for help, dude.
Yeah.
For lending, for helping find homes. In construction, I won't know a certain type of construction. I'll beg somebody for help. Architects, engineers, like I'll pick up the phone and and I'll give it back. Like if somebody can beg me for help, you know what I mean? So I beg for help, dude. I'm not quiet anymore. And it's like crazy if you think about like self-worth. With kids, it's like I tell my kids, hey, if you don't understand that in class, you need to raise your hand. You need to say, wait, I didn't hear what you said, right? But it's easy to like let them keep talking and you don't want to be embarrassed like you're the one that doesn't know. But it's like you're telling your kids like, oh, like ask for help. You know, if you don't know how to do something around the house, don't just go in the corner and cry, ask for help. But like adults, man, we hide that all the time. So it's like, oh, I just need to beg for help, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough when you get older. You have that pride, but that pride is what stops you from getting to the next level.
It's crazy, man. The hip thruster thing, I was trying to do the hip thruster thing today, and I was like, wait, are my legs supposed to be up or how do I? And then it was like, hey, man, I need some help, right? So I asked for help, and it was like, oh, dude, this thing's real hard. I don't ever want to, like my, but I begged for help,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's like, a lot of people don't want to ask for that help because they don't want to seem like they don't know everything, but nobody knows everything. And it could literally be as simple as someone telling you like, oh yeah, just buckle that part right there.
Yeah.
And you could go to the next level instead of doing something wrong for forever because you don't want to ask for help and then you end up giving up.
Dude, I got this friend. He's the most basic, like respectfully, he's the most basic dude I know. He speaks real basic, but he'll just call and say like, how did you do that thing? Hey man, I'm trying to raise some money. And I need to know how to raise money for this like flip I'm trying to build. And then he just like asked a few people and then he sent out a text to 100 people and he got the money that he needed for the flip. And then he got steam from that and then he did another one. And they did another one. He's like, wait, how did you switch from kitchens to this other thing? Because he also does construction. But he just asked questions, right? And he's like the most basic dude. Love this dude. But he just asked like, he's like starting to pick up golf. He just like asked the questions like, hey, how do I look? He just like asked questions. And it's like, dude, that's the smartest dude in the room. That's asking for help and then he'll apply it, right? So, yeah, man, gotta ask for help. Let the ego go, Like beg for help, dude. Yeah.
100%. And I also like that you said that when you were starting to get in shape, you started with like one thing, like walking and then running.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, when they're starting something, they think that first step is supposed to be the thing that gets all the results.
Yeah.
But it's really just to show you that you can do this first step. And then it gives you the confidence to do the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah.
And then by the end, it's like you've made all the cold calls and now you have a system of doing things and now you're doing all this stuff. And that's when you get the results, when you just keep doing these little things that build your confidence to, well, one, create the skills, and then two, make you believe that you could do it.
You get some wind in your sails, man. Just like a little win, a little win, a little win. You start getting a little bit of momentum and you're like, oh, dude, I'm in. You know what I mean? Yeah, just keep pushing it. Yeah.
100%. So what are maybe your favorite kinds of projects for your construction business, or if you have any?
Yeah. I really like an open kitchen, right? And everybody likes an open kitchen.
Same.
But I really, really like that. And it all goes back to like, I think like family time. So one thing that I noticed, I have a mom and 5 sisters. And a lot of times in kitchens, the older designs, the mom or whoever's cooking, they're kind of in jail, right? And the rest of the family's like watching the game, or they're all like playing games during Thanksgiving or Christmas, and the mom's in jail behind a stove cooking, right? So now it's cool. Like people want to open concept kitchen, and I like to move the stove either to the island center or somewhere where she's just not like in timeout while everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
Because some of my greatest memories are like with my grandma. She had an island with a stove, and we would like sit at the island and she would be like telling us stories, or you'd have like family conversations or whatever. And I feel like I got like deep like life nutrients, from being at that island, right? And just having conversation.
Yeah.
So there's something real special about like people eating and snacking and talking. But I always hated when the like mom or whoever's cooking is like stuck in jail, you know? So I like an open concept kitchen. That's like my favorite.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not just that you think it like looks great. You like it for a personal, emotional reason.
You can feel it, dude, when it's happening, like, and you're meeting with the clients over and over. It's like, it's family changing. Kids will do their homework while they're right there across from their parents that are making dinner. Whereas like, you know, before it was like dinner's over there and homework's over there. Like, it's like bringing families together. So like open concept, man, I really enjoy that. Like, I feel like it's like, to me, it's family changing. You know what I mean? It's life changing. It's like, I always ask people like, forget about the design. Like, what do you want to happen here? Right? Tell me what you want to happen here. We can build the kitchen to make that happen, or the house to make it happen. Tell me what kind of memories you want to hear, and we could build the house to support that. Who cares about paint colors and all that? Like, let's build the vision, and you just like live right into it, you know?
That's cool. So you try to make it functionally what they're expecting
Yeah.
to get out of their kitchen versus like, oh, do you want this marble countertop or quartz countertop?
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there. But it's like, start with the end in mind. Like, what's it really about? It's about memories, about family time.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, it's about like sharing a life together, right? So it's like, oh, like, show me the vision and we'll build it, dude.
Okay,
You know?
cool. So, all right. I told you that my wife wanted to remodel the kitchen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
step by step, what's it like working with you? If I called you today and I was
Yeah.
like, hey, Five Walnut Construction, I want to remodel my kitchen. What's it like from there until, you know?
That's
yeah.
a great question. So first step would be, most people reach out via Instagram or like a DM or something.
Really?
Yeah.
On Instagram?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah. Before it was all like word of mouth, but once we started doing Instagram Reels and things like that, people reach on Instagram with the DM. So Marlena, who works with our company, she would field that call and say like, hey, like, you know, what are you looking to do? She would communicate with you about what your vision is for your home. And then she would set up a call with me. And maybe my wife. So we might be all on speakerphone and we'll communicate, hey, what are you looking for in your house? We want to make sure the budget's like in the right line. We want to make sure like, because most people don't know, right? Like when I first got into construction, I was like, that's crazy that people charge that much or it costs that much, because I didn't know, right? But now that I do know, it's like, okay, cool. I want to make sure like we're all speaking kind of the same language, the same kind of numbers, same expectations. So once it is like things are in line, it's like, cool. Like shoot us a bunch of Pinterest screenshots of your vision, or like you can also like send us a video walkthrough narrating like, here's what you have to work with and here's what you're looking to do. Just so I have my mind prepped before we meet in person. So they normally send like walkthrough videos around their house saying what they love, what they don't love. And it's really interesting when people share that narration video, they'll say stuff that they didn't know that they were going to say. You know, like, oh man, I guess it'd be nice to have some more light up there. Or I guess it'd be, you know, it's like the thing we're talking about is where they don't like, they almost like cut out their full dream. It's like, man, just say everything, dream wild, and we'll see if we can do it, right?
Yeah.
So they share those videos, they share their Pinterest, and then we'll meet in person and see like what's possible, and then we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the first step. And then the big one is that most people, like over 90%, it's not really, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to live there when we're doing the construction. There's a lot of like noise and chaos and dust and dirt and screws on the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I just try to like set the expectation of like, here's what it would look like, here's the timeline, and then it's a lot of communication. So that's why we have a team. That's where construction falls apart, is in communication. So we just gotta like have constant communication with our team and with the client to make sure we're hitting the target.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a percentage that you can give, but how often do people contact you and they don't even know exactly what they want and you give them input to give them what they want? Or is it more often that people kind of have a pretty good idea of, you know, they have like a ton of Pinterest things saved? And
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Most people, I would say, have a generalized idea of like what I was saying, like what of the feeling they want. They know I want it more open because they're in jail when they're cooking and their family's doing something else. They have a generalized idea that it's kind of dark and they want it lighter, right? They have these general ideas. But decision making is real difficult for a lot of people. You know, like you could stare at 20 faucets and it's like, what faucet am I going to get, right? Or what tile is going to be there for 30 years? It's really difficult. So that's where generally we partner with a designer. Mm-hmm. And the designer is like talented at getting out what you really want and then being able to help you make a decision on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because when I told you when we bought that house in Austin, We were actually competing at a bodybuilding show 2 days after.
Oh my God.
Or 2 days after. So like we were at this design center and we were building stuff out. I'd never been in the house before. I'd never seen it in person. And I'm just looking at all this stuff and I'm so tired, bro. And she's picking out all the stuff. And I don't know why, she was super into gray at the time.
Yeah.
So it was gray carpet, gray floor. The walls were white with a tint of gray.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think that's going to look good. But
Gray
the girl was
on
just
gray.
like, whatever, yeah. And then,
Yeah.
you know, she wanted these white cabinets with a black countertop.
Oh.
The problem was way later on, like we moved to Austin already. We're watching it being built. This is cool. This is cool. And then the cabinets show up gray. And we were like,
Really?
yeah. So I was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe they're going to paint it. Maybe it's just primer. I don't know. And then they installed the floors. I was like, this is kind of weird. And then they ripped the paper off the floors. I was like, dude, these cabinets are gray. They're leaving it. And then so we contacted them. They're like, no, you put gray. And we were like, no, we picked white. You even sent us a picture in the email of a white cabinet. And they're like, oh, well, the design center girl, she fucked up. And she was pissed, you know?
Yeah.
And then we tried to get them to fix it. But at the time, you know, Austin was going crazy.
Yeah,
so,
Boston blew up. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So we had like a crazy price. They already had to up it on us a couple $1,000s to kind of make up for costs. And there was like, there's news articles of other builders that backed out of contracts with people so that they could sell it at a higher price to other people.
Bro,
so we didn't want that to happen. So like we couldn't fight that much.
Yeah.
But the house was so depressing. It was all gray.
Yeah.
And then we actually, you know, you're saying people don't know how much it is to get stuff remodeled or whatever.
Yeah.
So we got a quote to get the cabinets painted, and it was like $4,000 just to paint cabinets, and we were like, "What the?
Yeah,
it's crazy."
Yeah, it's crazy. No, I didn't know, man. Even though I was like around builders growing up, I didn't know like, you know, the dude drives there. He's got his machine, right? He's got like 30 years of experience. He knows how to make it right. It's like, oh man, like all of that costs money, you know, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. I always try to like partner people with the designer just because like I want to like overshoot it. Like, dude, are we, you know, like, so they communicate with the designer. They come up with like a clear expectation. And then we have like, you know, just kind of like drafts of how everything's going to look. And then it's easy to build after that. You know, it's like, okay, now we have a plan. But the decision making is difficult, man. It's hard for me. It's hard for clients. So decision making, it's like, if we can get that taken care of, you know, you can build anything once a decision is made. Yeah.
That's cool. So what do you pride yourself and your business in, or like what sets you guys apart from other companies?
Yeah. For us, I think the biggest thing is like, we really want to do the right thing. Sometimes we take it on the chin by trying to do the right thing. But I think like for us, our energy was always like, man, we're going to do the right thing. Like our goal is to have a 3-way tie, right? So it's like, we want the client to get a fair deal. We want our employees to get paid correctly. And then we want to be, you know, taken care of as well. Like a 3-way tie, not where like we took advantage of a client and then screwed over the workers, right? Or the workers cleaned house and we're struggling and the client's struggling, right? It should literally be a 3-way tie. And we fight over and over to refine that to get that 3-way tie. To me, that's like a good deal, right? 3-way handshake. I think like in the early years, what was really difficult is understanding the communication, right? So like, even if it's like, hey, we want this kitchen remodeled, you sign up to remodel the kitchen. We have a designer that's helping remodel the kitchen, and then we just build it and you come back. Sometimes that didn't feel good for you in the process because you weren't updated on the progress. You weren't updated knowing, hey man, you know, we noticed that there was like a whole bunch of dust or whatever leaving the house. We wanted you to know we cleaned the whole house. Like there's just like communication gaps. So sometimes clients really like to just leave and come back and the house is done. Some people are like real involved. So for us, it's like, oh man, our newer strategy is like, man, we want to just over communicate. We want to communicate and let people know what's going on. So if there's anything we've learned out of that, is communication is key, but the target was always there. We wanted people to like feel like we were going to do the right thing. You know, we want to take care of them. Contractors, there's a stigma. Contractors are shady. They screw people over. And we've been screwed over, right? By like subcontractors or by people on our team or things like that. So I know how difficult it is to find the right personnel. So for us, it's like, man, we just want to do the right thing no matter what.
Do you find that a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth with contractors and you have to like overcome that, or do people usually pretty cool when?
Yeah, I feel like we always start from behind zero. So unless we're like highly referred, so like we have a client that comes to mind where it's like, oh, we've done like 4 projects for him. If he tells anybody about us, they've already seen us post his 4 projects on Instagram. They're like, oh, dude, he like trusts him and they trust them. So whenever it's a referral, we're coming in pretty clean. But if it's like a raw like Instagram lead or somebody just saw our reel and they're reaching out, I mean, we're starting, everybody comes with their like guards up, like used car salesman or something.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for that. Like, it's construction's a dog eat dog world, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, more often than not, you hear horror stories than things that are going really well.
For sure. And a lot of it though, on the construction, like defending the construction side, a lot of times clients change their mind a lot, right? They're like, oh, I want this. Oh, wait, no, I don't. Oh, wait, I want the island this big. Oh, actually, I want it smaller. Like I can go on and on where they change their mind, where it's like, well, we were trying to do the right thing, but we're like chasing this moving target. So that's where we found over the years, it's like, oh, like communication is key to the whole thing. So it's like, hey, we've said this is the plan. Let's execute that. Oh, the plan changed. Great. That's gonna, you know what I mean? Like we want you to get what you want, but that's a different plan now, right? Yeah. So the communication is ultra key, dude. And I'm like kind of learning that more in, not just in the construction company, but on real estate as well. Like if we're, preparing a home for a client, or if we're buying a house and we're gonna, like if we bought a 4-plex and we're gonna rent it out to 4 different renters, it's like we want to be really clear with them about like the dates that it's available, what the terms of the lease would be. It's like communication is key to everything, man. Which is crazy too, because when I was in college, I got like a communication degree, and everybody's like, "Oh, you did communication because you sucked at math, or you did communication because you don't know how to spell, or something." Right? It was like a joke to have a communication degree, and now it's like the world relies on communication, whether that's a podcast or visual arts, or TikToks or whatever. Like everything is communication. Client relations is communication. So anyways, I think my degree is kind of dope.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I remember a lot of people kind of look down on communications degrees because they didn't see, well, what's the communication job? But realistically, it's a skill, because there's no business without communication. You 100%. Can't sell it to yourself. Yeah. So if you want to do business with somebody else, you have to be able to communicate with them. Yeah. And everybody's a little bit different. Everyone has a little different spin on how they communicate with you. And
I always thought communication was just talking, right? Like when I went into it, it was like, oh, I just like get a degree in talking, but it's like, it's actually way more listening, right? Yeah. It's like if you ever been to like marital counseling, right? Like if you ever been to like relational counseling, me and my wife went to relationship. Yeah, dude, it's dope. It's hella dope. There's like, oh, like tell your wife what you feel. It's like, I love you. And then she's supposed to reply back, what did you hear? She's like, you said you love me. It's like, no. I said, I love you. Not like, I love you. Like, I love, you know what I mean? Like, it can get lost in translation. Yeah. So communication's key, man. Yeah, it's crazy. That's cool, man.
Yeah. It's funny now, yeah, because everyone's like, dude, you got to get a business degree. And then you find out that all these people that took business or entrepreneurship, they don't know anything. Yeah. Like one of my clients, he did, I think he did business or entrepreneurship, and I was talking to him, or no, he did marketing and business. And I was telling him all this stuff about marketing. He's like, dude, what the fuck? I didn't even learn this in school, in my college degree. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. I thought that this would probably be part of it for, a couple grand. Right?
Well, and the world changed, right? The internet broke the world, changed the whole world, right? Before, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Like for you to own your own business or for me to own my own business, it seems so unattainable. But now, like the internet broke the world. Now you can reach out to clients directly. I can reach out to clients directly. We don't need some big like agency to help us, right? Yeah. It's like, the internet broke the world, dude. Changed the whole thing.
Well, what's your stance on college now?
That's a very deep question. I'm like, because I do like the environment of people being creative and having ideas and discussion in like a classroom setting. I do think there's a lot to get out of that. So on that side, I'm pretty pro college. On these like standardized tests or like testing things like within this like small measurable sense, man, I have my issues with it, and I think like if those are like growing years still, like kids' brains still going to 27, it's like, man, if you can afford it, I guess it's cool. But like, if you have a drive and you're already ready to go, dude, you could already learn by doing, like I feel like, man, you could have got a lot of years back just by like going for it and failing. And those are like good years to go and fail and recover, and you live with your parents. Like it's not that big of a ramification if your business didn't work, But I do think like engaging the creativity in the brain, like, if you're able to like have those like in-person discussions with, like if you're in a community with a group of people that are like coming up with ideas and trying different things, holy smokes, man, I think college could be in trouble. You know what I mean? Because like, what can't you learn from the internet, and what can't you learn from being in a community with people that are like aren't talking about it, they're not dreaming about it, they're like doing it and trying it and failing it and doing it again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm pro college, but dang, their ground is, they're losing ground in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? What's your position on like, or what do you believe about like college right now? Like, is it needed?
It depends on what you want to do. Like, there's a lot of things. Like, my thinking before was that college and school in general is not there to teach you the specific thing. Like, does it really matter if you know exactly what year George Washington founded the country or whatever? Like, maybe not, but it teaches you certain styles of thinking. Like math is like a linear progress. Like it's very black and white, or, whatever else is, different ways of thinking. But after a certain point, it's kind of like, they're not super useful things. You know what I mean? Like I went to Cal, and they put me in like this dumb jock major, which is American Studies, which is basically you have to take 6 core classes from at least 3 disciplines, and then you just make up your own major and you write a 50-page thesis on it. Okay. And it's like, I don't know, is that super useful for getting a job or like being successful in the real world? I don't know. I mean, probably not. I know plenty of people that are very successful and they either never went to college, didn't finish college, or what they do now has nothing to do with their actual degree. Like my degree is in legal studies. I have nothing to do. I mean, I'm not becoming a lawyer or anything like that. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like if it's something, I mean, if you want to be a doctor, please go to college. Don't be a fake doctor. Yeah. But I don't think it's super necessary, but I think it's also a good time to figure yourself out. Like when I was that age, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be cool in that aspect. Like if you don't know what you want to do, you might as well go learn something and wait for it to hit you. Yeah,
I'm hearing you on that. I think like, Cal State Long Beach, their motto was that their mission was for people to leave college with the ability to think critically, right?
That's cool.
And I think I got that, right? Like I believe that. Like I don't just look at like it's just black and white or just yes or no. It's like, well, hold up, let me like understand a little bit more about the situation. And I did have like a college experience where it was like, I was just kind of like doing my thing. Okay, I got to work a little harder in this subject or study a little more in this. Like I really went for it my first couple years of college. But I did have this one class that like a light bulb went off. And that was like a rhetorical criticism class. So in communication, they go over like, like you would read something and like you would basically, what did you gather from it, right? And you try to get everybody's view. What was the writer's point of view? What's the audience's point of view? So it was rhetorical criticism, and I felt like that class changed my whole life because I feel like I always just kind of looked at everything kind of linearly, right? And I was just kind of like thinking like, oh, they said it and it is what it is, right? I guess George Washington was right, or whoever, right? Like I just kind of believed it for what it was. But then when I started looking at it from different angles, it was like literally like a dam that was holding back water in my brain or something. It like broke open, and I felt like my whole brain started, like more of my brain started working, where it was like, no, wait, hold up. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me start looking at things from like 10 different views. And once I started doing that, it was like, oh, hold up. Like the whole world, not like it's all fake, but like some of it, right? So, yeah, it's crazy. Like when you have those like, and I'm just grateful for that like class. I'm grateful for that like type of setting where all these different ideas were being thrown around, and I was like grateful to be a part of it. Like otherwise you can get like stuck in one type of thinking. So I like being exposed to more types of it. So I was grateful for that. So in that sense, I think college can be useful. Yeah. When you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, some of my favorite classes were philosophy classes. Yeah, I took them in community college, and I took more when I went to Cal. But I was like, what the hell am I going to do with the philosophy degree other than write papers. I was like, I don't want to do that. But as far as being interesting and making me think, those were my favorite classes.
Yeah.
Like we took like a critical thinking class, and then I had this one where I had to read like all of Socrates stuff, and but it just makes you think and opens your mind up, like you said.
Well, I'm even thinking about the class where you said you had to like build your own theory, right?
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting because like you built your own business, right? Like you had to go out of the box and kind of like build something that maybe your family you didn't like inherit that from your family, right? Yeah. Like you didn't just like sign a contract to work for a company. Like you built it, right? So like I feel like you had to like learn some of that somewhere or get exposed to some of that somewhere. So it's like, I don't know, man, maybe that's like a win for the college team, Like you went out and built something new, it's dope.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, I guess if you think about that, that's a good perspective. Like
just went out and built it, dude. Like, where'd you get that from? It's kind of wild.
Yeah. So going back to your business, right? Like there's so many unexpected changes and headaches that happen when you're doing construction projects. Like how do you manage that with communicating with the clients, and then how do you handle it stress wise? Because I'm sure they get on your neck about.
That's a fantastic question. Yeah. So with the communication with the clients, I'm not the best at it, right? Like my wife, she's really good. Like I want to like think and come up with like the right solution, and she's like, well, there's a feeling involved here. So like the number one thing is we want to respond to the client and let them know we're working on it. So that's where she comes in. And then Marlena, who is our like manager of communications, she'll jump in and say like, hey guys, we're working on it, or Mark's figuring it out, or whatever. So on the communication side, I think just constant communication is the key. In terms of the stress, I wouldn't be able to like manage, I don't believe, a construction company, and then the investment side of our business, I wouldn't be able to manage it if I didn't work out. So for me, I try to go like hard, with like in the cardio sense. I try to go to like a dark place, dude, and like battle demons, man. Like I go like as hard as I can on like a spin bike, or even when I was like running, I would like go hard, and I try to like I go backwards to like childhood stuff or to the future. I like sometimes visualize like I'm like finishing a marathon and my like kids are there and their kids are there. Like I'm older, you know what I mean? And they're like cheering, because it's about me, right? So it's like they're just like cheering me on, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I have these like dreams where I'm like pulling my kids up a hill, and then I'm just like pushing them further ahead than I am, right? So I just try to go like hard, but I think like putting that kind of like stress on your body, you get like accustomed to some type of stress, and you're like, oh, like, and then I got through it, right? And I came back a little bit stronger. So that's on the cardio side. On the lifting side, I think you just get the same kind of like, oh man, like you try to push the limit a little bit, and then you're like, okay, cool. Now I know my limit. I'm measuring my gains, right? I'm measuring how much I can squat or whatever. And now I'll back off a little bit, rep up, and then go a little bit more. But I think you have to put your body through something difficult physically in order to increase your mental capacity. It's all connected. Like the physical like aspect of it, it's like, you got to have discipline. You got to keep pushing forward. Especially as like I'm 43, you're realizing like, oh man, I'm not gonna get faster, right? It's like I'm actually just trying to maintain what I got. I might get a little stronger, but I'm not gonna get like crazy stronger. So it's like I'm just trying to like keep all my faculties, right? But mentally, it's like I have to work harder to keep what I got. But that physical like stress I'm putting on my body, it for sure transfers, man. I think every time you step up with a bigger business or a bigger client or a bigger investment, you really can measure in stress. How much stress can I take? Businesses that fail year 5, they fail because of stress.
Back after some technical difficulties. Back to stress.
Back to stress. Yeah. No, I felt like I was having like a little bit of like a breakdown. Like, I was having trouble sleeping, and then I'm always thinking about the problems, and then I'm eating like crap. And I would like just go into the bathroom and like, brushing my teeth and like looking at my face like, hey, you look a little crazy, like you're feeling a little crazy. Like you start feeling a little like just kind of cornered with how much stress you have. And then just all the problems can feel overwhelming. So, I mean, my advice to anybody that is in that kind of situation, number one is like, man, you got to like raise your hand and ask for help. So for me, I like begged for help. I just started like trying to run, and I realized it wasn't getting me very far. I was like running, and I felt like some like maybe like endorphins were moving. I felt like some stress was relieved, but it was like, oh, dude, I'm like still weak, and I don't eat well, and I don't know where to start. So I just begged for help. So I went to a local trainer and I just begged for help. I said, hey, dude, I need to go here. I saw your before and after pictures. I need to go here. And they're like, we're booked. And I was like, okay, I'll be back tomorrow. And then I came back the next day and they're like, hey, man, I told you we're booked. And I said, okay, I'm going to be back tomorrow. Like, I need you, bro. Like, I felt desperate. Like, I need you in my life because there's so much going on. So I feel like, yeah, that's my advice. Like, if you just feel like you can't get the ball rolling, you just don't give up. Like, that's your shot. You gotta like treat it like it's life or death, because it really is. It's like, man, I felt like I wasn't living, like just not able to like make decisions, not able to go, not able to like feel good about myself, my body for sure. So it's like, oh, like you got to ask for help. Right. So I asked for help, found a trainer, started working out, started eating better. And then it's like, oh, okay, I can handle a little more stress. Like, add some more stress on there. Oh, like you start seeing the world a little bit different. I think once you're moving in a bit of a healthy direction, I guess.
So what helped keep you going during that time? What were you thinking of to kind of push you through those crazy times of stress?
I like always had this like I wanted to be like a good dad, and like a real good husband. And I think like once I had like some time to myself, like especially like running, I started realizing like, man, I'm a pretty okay dad. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably like like I'm not like bombing on my kids and like, talking down them or something. But I wasn't like, I would be like in the room, but not really there. Like I'm there and my kids are like, Dad, play with me. And I'm like, yeah. But I'm not like there, like on the ground playing with them. And then my wife, we would like go on dates, but like my brain would be somewhere else instead of like, we're kind of holding hands, but not really. You know what I mean? You just kind of floating through life a little bit.
You're not present.
Yeah, I'm not present, dude. So it's like, oh, I need to be like, when we're talking about this, like living a full life, it's like, oh, dude, I need to go, but I don't have the energy to go, and I don't feel good enough to really go. So it's like, where am I going to get that? I really do think a lot of it starts with your health. It's like, dude, if you're not healthy, how can you go? If you're not strong, how can you go? If you're not, eating, putting good stuff in your body, how can you go? Right? Like, you're just not at 100%. You're not, dude. If you're not doing it, the work, you're not at 100%. You're operating at 60%, 70%. You're barely getting by, So, so I basically just like begged for help. And then, but my goal was like, dude, I want to live a dope life, like I feel like I kind of like, have been given a pretty good starting point. So it's like, man, I want to live a dope life. I want to like drive this car till the wheels fall off, So, so I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great dad. I want to be, a great business owner. You know what I mean? A great, like peer, great friend. Right. So how can you be great at stuff if you don't feel great? It's like, well, you kind of gotta start from the beginning,
Yeah. How many people, or like what percentage of people do you think are working at 60% right now? They're living at 60%.
I don't even know if they're there. Like, I mean, I would say a mass of the population, if it was a grade, they're getting Fs, dude. They'd fail, right? Because I've seen it like, just even with my own teams, it's like, oh, like we're building a house. This dude's great at swinging a hammer. He's great at like construction, but it's like, he just wants to sleep after, not just because he's been working. He's like, dude, he's been eating like trash all day long, right? And then, I think about like just people that are close to me that just like, they like work and they watch TV. And I'm not dissing TV, dude. They just work and they go to TV. It's like, man, this is the story of your life. Like if we had to like talk at a funeral about you right now and say like, oh, what did you do over the last, you know what I'm saying? Like, what did we do? What did you do over the last year? It's like, you worked and watched TV. It's like, no, like what else did you do? And like, oh, like, well, but I love my kids. It's like, cool. Like you kind of owe it to your kids to set the example. Like, man, we got to get out and move. We got to get some sunlight. We got to like put good stuff in our bodies. We got to keep it going, right? Like, that's just my feeling on it. No knock on anybody that's not feeling good, because generally they don't know how to start. You know, I feel bad for people that like don't know where to start. So when I'm at the gym and I see somebody like Biggest Loser looking coming in and they're like big and they're in the gym, I'm like, that's my people, dude. You know what I mean? Like, bless you, dude, like, for being here. Like, I get inspired by that because like I've been there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I feel something just talking about it. Yeah.
Honestly, the people that I see that are out of shape that are working, they're more inspiring usually. Or when I see someone in the gym that's like in a wheelchair, I'm like, dude, props to you, man.
Crazy.
There's a lot of people here that are fully able-bodied and they just don't.
I was at a cardio class a few weeks ago, and I just got like normally I'm like in a pretty good positioned bike, but I was in like the cheap seats, bro. I was like in the back. And I was riding next to somebody that was like really out of shape, and like almost had like, they had like bad body odor, you know? So I was like right next to them and they smelled, and I was just like, why am I here next to this person that's smelling, right? So I'm like riding and I'm like, damn, they smell, right? I'm just like being negative Nancy, yeah. And I'm in it. And then I just had this like moment, like I literally was like on the bike and I prayed. I was like, God, you got me. I'm here for a reason. It's not an accident. Like, why am I on this bike on this day next to this person that smells? And then I had this like almost like flood of like emotion where I felt like God was telling me, hey man, you don't know what they've been through. You know what I mean? And don't forget, you've been through stuff. And they're in here trying. And they probably know they smell. And they're still trying. Like, there's probably some trauma there. There's probably some damage there. Like, you should be grateful that you're even here with them. And I just was like, okay, you know? So, like, I just kept riding next to them, and they kept smelling. And then after the ride, I looked that person right in their eye and was like, dude, I'm so glad you're here, man. I hope I see you here again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's like, if you can have, like, empathy for people that are in this crappy position, it's like, man, all those people that I'm saying are running at 50% or 60%, I really, really hope they know what it feels like to feel in the 90s, you know? And like the only way they get there is by taking a chance and begging for help and getting themselves in some kind of walk, some kind of meal plan, some kind of training, some kind of like beg for help, dude, to get the ball rolling. Cause it's a hard place to get started, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched on this on the previous podcast, but I think it's cool that you said something to them, because I always say that it only takes one person to give you some sort of self-belief to kind of change your life. Like, for you to be like the positive person that accepts them in the gym and makes them feel like, all right, I can be here, I can keep working. Yeah. Versus kind of being self-conscious or thinking other people are thinking you're weird or whatever it is. Like, or, you know, maybe you don't think that you could reach your goal. You don't think you could build the business. If someone comes along and the right person says like, you could do it, it gives you that belief and it changes your life. Yeah. So it's pretty cool that you said that, man.
Yeah, man. Bless you, dude. Thank you.
Something you said earlier was, what do you want people to say at your funeral? And that's something that I've always kind of used as my guiding principle of how I live my life. So when when you pass and you're at your funeral, what do you want people to have said about you to make you feel like you've lived the most full life?
Bless you for asking that. Yeah. I mean, for me, like, that I hit the gas pedal, you know, like I didn't always do it, but I think like I hit the gas pedal and I really try to go for it, dude. Like, I really want to be a great dad. I want to be a great husband, but I'm trying to use like whatever I have, whatever God's given me, whether that's all the good stuff and some tragedies and some pain and like stuff that I've been through in my life. It's like, man, I was able to, by grace of God, like just take that and like I want to keep going. So even when it feels like, oh, maybe you should be on cruise control now, no, I'm still going. I'm still here. I feel crazy grateful. And I think it should be a party at my funeral, because like I didn't waste, like you don't want to get to the end of the war and you got all these bullets left in your gun and the enemy's winning. It's like, no, I want to use all the ammo I have, right? So give me all the gas in my tank. I want to use all of it. So I really just want to go for it. And I want to like let people that are close to me know, like, man, I really, really, like, I really want people to know that I love them. But in terms of like just my actions, it's like, man, I really went for it, dude. I try to go and get everything that I can out of this life, and hopefully, that transfers into the next life. That, man, like, there's no reason to cry at my funeral, dude. I went for it. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. That's really cool.
How about you? Like, what do you feel like you want people to say at your funeral? Like,
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like super simple. I mean, I think I'll feel validated if I gave everything that I had, as far as like chasing my dreams. I want to know that I at least attempted it. Something that I always tell people is like, the reason that I chased bodybuilding so hard is because at the time it was my dream. And I know that one day I'll have a kid and I'm going to tell them you could do anything you want as long as you work for it. But if I had never done anything and I was just some cubicle guy that never chased his dream, they'd be like, okay, but what was your dream? To work in the cubicle?
Yeah.
And so I think being a man of my word and being able to practice what I preach, and really just at the end of the day, I just want people to say that I was a good person. I was there for them, and I helped people out whenever I could. And I helped raise the level of everybody else around me. Like that's at Cal Rugby. That's why I went to Cal to play rugby. Like their definition of a leader is someone who makes everyone around them better.
That's right.
You don't have to be the best, but if you elevate everybody else, that makes you a leader.
Yeah. And
I think that being able to do that would be the most fulfilling, and kind of number one most important would just be a good dad, have a good family. Like if people said that I was a good dad and my kids love me and everything, I think I would be pretty happy.
Heck yeah. No, for sure. That's winning, dude. Well, I like it too, is like that, like in order to, like, you've impacted all these people, right? Like you really have been able to impact people through their health and through their wellness. Is like, well, you have to be going in order to have that impact on them, right? So like for me saying it's like, oh, like I want to hit the gas pedal and I want to go. It's like, well, how can I like be a great dad? How can I like be a good husband? How can I do all these things if I'm operating at 50%? I can't. You have to go. And I believe that when you hit the gas pedal, you actually get more gas in the tank, right? So you got to go. And like, I think like whoever's going, in my opinion, like, man, I just feel like God just continues to bless them and bless them and bless them. So sometimes I'm just like chilling, running, cycling, whatever. And I'm just like, man, just give me more. Right. And I don't mean that like in a greedy way. I'm just like, just give me more responsibility. Give me more, like direction. Give me more of whatever you need to give me. I'm in, give me more. And then sometimes God will give me more than I asked for. So I was like, oh, wait, hold on. Back up, because I'm tripping. All right, you know what I mean? But I'm like, just give me more, and I'm going to try to like step up to the plate for it. You know what I mean? I'm game for it. Yeah. But normally I'm like, okay, that was a little much. Thank you for that,
Have you always been like that? Like always wanted to challenge yourself and always wanted to do more?
I did, but I think like I got kind of lost in the areas where like I did always like a challenge. I always did like some type of competition, but I think you can get lost in direction, right? Especially like in your early 20s or late teenage years. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to be? You feel like this lifelong commitment to make a decision, where it's not really like that, man. I think if you just keep going, like the responsibility will get laid on you, right? Like, oh, you want to we got someone that's going? Cool, let me give them some responsibility. Oh, you got somebody that's going? We want you for this position. Oh, you want somebody that's going? Great, now you're a dad, now keep going, right? Oh, it's like, it's not like you're going to give all this effort and now you're cruising. I don't believe that's real.
It's not real.
It's not real, bro. You keep going, it's like, all it is more and more stress, more responsibility, but give it all to me, because in that I'm like able to give my kids more love, give them more responsibility, give them more care, give my wife more attention. Like it's all more, right? Like it's way more good, but it does come with more stress.
Yeah.
And that's all right. Like whatever. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Like I don't think I'm going to die and look at God and he's just like, man, you didn't even try. It's like, no, I went, dude. I went for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's roll. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like the whole saying, like with every level, there's new devils, right? Like
Ooh,
as you level up, it's just, you're never just like, oh, I'm content here. Like this is finally good. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because if you like going to new levels, you don't necessarily like the new level. You like the chase of achieving something new.
Yeah.
And so it's hard because like the goalpost always moves. You know what I mean? Every time you get close to something, your mind expands and you're like, I could do more. And you just keep pushing it further and further.
Yeah.
And then it's so I mean, sometimes it can be hard to appreciate, you know, because you're so wrapped up in the next thing instead of just being able to be present in what you're doing. Like Alex Hormozy said something recently, and it was like, you've already achieved something that you said you'd be happy when you did.
Yep.
And it's like that's what helps me be grateful. I was like, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I've definitely felt that.
Yeah. I've like heard people say like, oh, when you're feeling anxiety, they say to do an inventory check and say like, where am I right now? Right. So if you're feeling real pressed, like stressed out and feel like the world's spinning and it's out of control, it's like, hold up, let me see what I got right now. Okay. I don't have cancer, right? I'm not like crazy disabled. Like I do have like, you know, a healthy wife and my kids are here. I have food to eat. I wasn't out in the rain last night. Like that's kind of winning for most of the world, right? Yeah. Like, okay, what am I stressed out about? Oh, like somebody bashed me on Instagram. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, let me just like start with the inventory. Like, okay, my life's the shit. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like my life's pretty dope. Like in terms of the whole world, it's like, oh man, things are pretty good. Yeah. So let me just chill for a second and then regroup, you know? So yeah, start with like gratitude, you know, inventory.
Yeah. I've never heard anybody say it like that, but I tend to try and do that, you know, whenever I can, you know, whenever I'm getting stressed out. It's like, you know, 5 years ago, I would have died to be where I am right now. And it's like to be unappreciative of where you are because you want more. It's like, it's a little bit greedy, you know? Yeah. Or sometimes I'm like, man, you know, some people just can't see. And if I just look out, I'm like, if I couldn't see and then I saw this right now, I'd be like, this is beautiful. It's
crazy.
You know? Like the sky. It's crazy. Or my house or my wife. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, yeah. And then you're like, okay, maybe I'm being.
Somebody loves me. Yeah. Right? Just like loves me. Yeah. That's crazy, right? It's like, I had a moment where I was like feeling a little like anxious, and I was like, I went to go run around this track, Liberty Park in Cerritos. I went to go run that track, and my friend met me there, and I felt like my world was kind of spinning. I had this bunch of information dumped on me out of nowhere, and I felt like the world was kind of spinning. And he's like, yo, you look stressed out. And I said, I am, dude. Like my whole world feels upside down. He said, your whole world? And I said, yeah, like the whole world feels just like crazy. And he's like, the whole world? Like a jerk, dude. And I was like, yeah, man, I just feel like everything's falling apart. And he's like, everything's falling apart. And I'm like, what is your problem? He's like, bro, your life looks pretty good from here. Like, what are you talking about? And then it was like, you know, you wouldn't understand it. And he's like, okay. And then he just kind of hit me with it. Like, hey, dude, like, do you have like a terminal illness? Like, no. Oh, do you have and it wasn't like undermining that I was going through pain and anxiety, but it was like, man, kind of chill for a second. It ain't that crazy, bro. Like, oh, your car's overheating. Like, it's not that, you know what I mean? It's not that big a deal, right? Yeah. So it's like, oh, that's kind of calming to know, like, you know, like nothing's that big, I think.
Yeah, it's always good to have those kind of people around to bring you back down to earth.
Yeah, if it didn't feel good at first.
Oh yeah,
like, you little punk, like, you know. Yeah.
Well, it's easy to get wrapped up in your own life because it's all you know. Like you're so in it, and that's why I always recommend people, you know, take a walk outside because it's one of the only times in the day you get to step out of your life and really just reflect on what's happening instead of just being in it, like, you know, working and doing the thing that's right in front of you. And I think it was super helpful for me to just take a step back and be like, you know what? I know I wish things were a little bit better. I wish like there was more people coming in or this was happening, but you know, I got a house. I'm blessed to have a house. I got a wife, you know, things are not that bad.
Winning.
They're not
bro.
that bad.
Winning, man.
Yeah. Like honestly, I couldn't imagine being single and being my age.
Swiping right now?
I'd be single forever.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
All right. So what was the hardest thing that you went through when you're building your business?
That's a great question. I went through like a series of like back to back disappointment on like relying on other people. And I'm not trying to say that like, oh, I just got taken advantage of. That's not what I mean. I just mean like, you know, I was hoping like some people would hold up their end of the bargain and they didn't. And a lot of times it was attached to like guys that had demons, you know, like I had a guy who was a great builder who I partnered with, and he just had like some like a drug demon that he couldn't shake. So it was like, oh, like we got a good contract, this could be profitable for us. And it's like, he saw that as like, oh, like now he's really going to party, like, so I was like, wait, where did he go? He was like gone for weeks. Right.
Yeah.
And then I had, I wanted to do this thing where, like Google, like you can eat there for free, right? Like they have like a center. So I wanted to like provide lunch for people like, oh, if this is a happy place to work, they'll love to work here and they'll do quality work. But I didn't realize like that for whatever reason, it was just like rose colored glasses. I just thought like, they would love working here and love that I'm good to them and we're good as a team and they're going to be great. And then I didn't realize like, oh, dude, people are going to take advantage of that. So there was like that. And then that feels crappy, right? So I think those like back to back disappointments, they made me kind of like sad, and then it's like, oh, then you slide to the other side. Now you're a tyrant leader, and like, check in the morning and check in and I'm checking everything. And it's like, man, I don't even want to be like that. Yeah. Right. So I had these like series of disappointments just based on people. And it was like, okay, if you zoom all the way back, what I did learn from it though, was that, it actually started with me and my leadership. And I was just a rookie. I didn't set clear standards. I didn't set clear expectations. I didn't say, here's what it has to look like for you guys to be a part of the team here. I didn't understand it. And I learned that just by doing it the wrong way, right? Yeah. So.
Okay. Would you have done anything differently, like when you first started?
Yeah, that's always a good question, right? Would I have done anything differently? I think I would have surrounded myself around people that dreamed a little bit bigger. So I was around a fair amount of like local builders, and I'm grateful for them because they taught me a lot of the ropes. I was grateful for people that like just kind of like barely made it, for 20 years. They're just kind of like treading and they're following the market and things like that. I wasn't around people that like wanted airplanes. I just wasn't around them.
Do you want an airplane?
Huh? Yeah, I want a little airplane.
Oh, okay.
I don't need like a jet, but I want like a little airplane that I could like fly to Big Bear and fly to Long Beach.
Okay.
Just like cruise around a little bit on clear days, but I want to have a little airplane, right? My wife doesn't want to ride in it, but that's all right. But yeah, I wasn't around people that had their own airplanes, or I wasn't around people that were like, oh, well, I kept thinking like construction was like my one shot, right? Where it's like, there's not one shot. There's 1,000 shots. That thing could fail. You could do like your own Chipotle. I didn't know that there was so many different, opportunities in business. It didn't have to be this one and all. It's like, oh, like I could have tried other things. So I think like now that I'm in rooms where there's people, it's like bigger rooms with bigger players that have different kind of pockets and different visions, more importantly, it's like, oh, now it's like fun. Like maybe it's not just construction. Maybe it's not just real estate investment. Maybe it's other things, right? So like my mind's kind of like spinning as to like what's possible. And because of that, more importantly, I'm not putting construction on my kids or real estate investment on my kids. It's like, no, dude, it could be anything, right? It really could be anything. So like you could have like a real cool barbershop. Or you could have like, I don't know, online barber training. Like it could be anything, right? Yeah. So I think like, if there's anything I would change, I would have gotten bigger rooms sooner.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's like that age old saying, you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Right. And a lot of it's not just because they're teaching you stuff, but like you're just watching them do it. And when people that are above you, they think that, having a $1 million business is nothing. You're like, oh, yeah, is it nothing? But if you're hanging out with a bunch of people that think that doing $1 million business is impossible, like you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, it's impossible. I'm not gonna do it. It's not gonna be me.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I was around a guy who would flip one house a year, I thought that was crazy. Like, what, flip? Like Chip and Joanna Gaines, like, or like flip or flop? That's what I thought, right? Like, oh, like they're doing these one flips. And then you meet a person that's like, oh, I did 500 flips in the last 7 years. You're like, wait, that's crazy. And it's not like some big crazy corporation. It's like a couple guys that just are like crazy efficient. It's like, oh, okay, hold up. Like, let me figure this out. Let me just like, cause it just changes what you believe is possible, Yeah, it's crazy, right? How do you feel about that? Like if you went back to when you were first launching your business Is there something that you would have changed?
I would have just started sooner.
That's a great answer.
Like when I first started, I did a lot of comparing to coaches that I knew or some of my friends, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not them. I don't know if I could do this. And I think that the best way to get over that is to just start by doing something, because you'll figure out like everybody's just running around with their head cut off. Some just have it a little bit more put together than you do, so everyone's just figuring it out. And it's not like nobody else is that much more special than you. They just have done a little bit more work, or they've been doing it a little bit longer. And it's like, if you want to do it, just do it. Like whether it's like competing or building a business. Like if you just start, you'll be way more ahead of the people that have been thinking about starting for the last 10 years and they're like waiting for that perfect moment to drop. You'll have 10 years of experience before them, And so I think that just starting earlier and having a little bit more belief in myself, and maybe that's some self-work that I had to do, or maybe it's surrounding myself with different people. But I think that if I could have done that, if I could go back, that it would have been solid.
Yeah, it sounds like both, right? Like I feel like that for me as well. It's like, oh, there's like some self-worth in there, but it's also like, oh man, I was just in the wrong room. Like if you're in first place in a small room, right? Who cares, right? But it's like, oh, I'd rather been in like 79th, place in a different room. You know what I'm saying? Just in terms of like knowing like what's possible. Like I hear you on that starting earlier. That would have been, that would have been cool, but like here we are.
Yeah.
And the opportunity's endless, right? And your mind is like where it is right now, right? Like still dreaming, still doing, but still dreaming. That's a good spot to be in, man.
Yeah, I feel my motto is just that you can't fail, or not my motto, but something that I live by is that you can't fail if you don't quit. Like if you just keep going, no matter how far ahead someone is than you or how more genetically blessed they are than you, no matter what it is, if you keep going and they're not as mentally tough as you, they'll eventually stop and you'll eventually still be going and you'll pass them up at some point. And so just kind of knowing that is like, okay, I just got to do the things that I got to do. And even if I am comparing myself to someone, I'm going to outlast them. I'm going to do it better. I'm going to do it longer. I'm going to do it more consistently. And I'm going to, try and learn more so I can do it more, do it better. So if you could just do that, you'll pass anybody up. So there's nothing that you want to do that you can't do if you just gave yourself some time and really put in that effort and that focus.
Yeah. When you're coaching like actual like bodybuilders, right? Do you feel like almost all of it is like going back to like mental?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you're lifting weights and stuff, but it's what you're thinking about when you're lifting weights. It's how far you're mentally able to push yourself. It's bodybuilding is this weird thing that it's 24/7. It's not extreme in the sense that like, when you run 100 sprints on the football field, like you're gassed. Like it's physically hard right now. Bodybuilding is like, it is hard 24/7. It's like this dull pain that's just it's so boring and monotonous. You do the same thing every day and you just find ways to do the same thing better and better. And and it's like it's mentally getting yourself to do the really boring shit over and over and over again.
So bodybuilders should just be like great entrepreneurs, man. That's what entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
they
like
could be. I mean,
over 24/7. Some kind of like constant stress that's happening. I feel like they could do anything. I mean, seriously, right? Like if it's 24 hours, like monitoring nutrition, getting the lifts in, still pushing the envelope. That's like...
Yeah, it is. There's also this interesting thing though, that people are like, oh, well, fitness people are so disciplined. And it's like, is it discipline though, if you love it? Because it's not, you're not making yourself do it. You love doing it.
Yeah.
You don't make yourself play video games if you love video games.
That's right.
Sometimes it doesn't translate for certain people.
Dang.
Some people are very good at fitness because they just love fitness. But when you ask them to do something else, they don't have that type of discipline.
That's so good. Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, that's hecka deep, dude.
Yeah. So it's just pretty interesting. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you some random questions now.
Fire away.
All right. So what's your favorite cheat meal?
My
favorite cheat meal?
Oh, man. Like wild street tacos, dude.
Street tacos.
I like can eat any street taco Yeah, like I'll eat street tacos anywhere, dude. Like in Tijuana, like in Stockton, California, in you know what I mean, like in LA. Like I go to any like street taco vendor. I really like street tacos.
What kind of meat do you get?
So I normally get asada, but I'll try it. Like birria is crazy, dude. Like I'm starting to get my heart a little bit now, right? So I'm like committed team asada. But like that birria, man, it's like, oh my goodness. You know, there's a couple spots in Long Beach that are like ruining my asada game a little bit. But yeah, street tacos, man, I love it. Street tacos, you know, just like a ton of salsa.
Okay,
yeah.
where's your top 3 street taco spots?
Whoa, that's crazy. So there's like 100, but there's a taco joint on the corner of Sepulveda and Vermont in Harbor City that is just crazy, dude. It's right next to like a McDonald's, and they're consistent, dude. It doesn't matter if they're raining, they're always there, and their salsa is pretty bomb. There's another spot on the corner of, they're only there twice a week, but it's on the corner of Bellflower, just south of the 405, like Bellflower and 405. I mean, I'll put them up against anybody, dude. It's so fire, and they're in Long Beach. And then there's another spot that's on Wardlow and Atlantic that pops up. There's, again, only like twice a week. And they're pretty fire, dude. They're on the southeast corner of there, like near a gas station. I mean, they don't have a name, dude. It's just like the dudes with the red tent.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But it's like, consistently fire, dude. But there's so many good places in Southern California, you know, that are just like bomb, dude.
Okay, so you like street tacos over restaurant tacos?
It's real hard for restaurants to compete with street tacos, man. Yeah. I mean, I like the ambiance, of course, of a restaurant, but street tacos are so fire, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the taste is different, or is just the experience is different?
I think the taste has to be fire, or nobody's going to go there, right? A restaurant, it's like you got ambiance, you got music, you got TVs, whatever. But like, street tacos have to be good or people won't go there. And there's so many good ones out there now, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite type of vacation? Do you like beach vacation, like hiking,
That's a
city
great
stuff?
question. Dude, I like it all. I'm starting to like beaches a lot again because I like the clean water, and my kids just have, I mean, they could just forget about games. They can forget about screens at the beach. They're just like playing in the water until they're worn out. We do have a place in the mountains though, in Big Bear, and it's cool to see them just like hang out, you know, kind of exploring, right? They're making like ships out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like their creativity starts to take off. So for me, it's like wherever my kids want to go, like I'm down. But if it's just me and my wife, for sure, I want like, you know, I wouldn't mind like a little margarita with, you know, like some clean water and hang out with my wife, you know, on the beach.
So like Cancun?
And I've been working out, bro. So I'm trying to like show a little something. You know what I mean? Like you can't really do that at Big Bear, but up in the up on the beach, it's like, oh, cool. Like I kind of put in work. Like let me floss a little bit.
So you like Cancun a little bit?
Yeah, Cancun's dope. Heck yeah.
Okay. Anywhere else? Any other beaches?
I really like Cancun. That's probably my favorite. We went to Tunnels Beach in Hawaii, and that's like, holy smokes, man. I get all the buzz about Kauai. Like Kauai was, you know, it's Jurassic Park, dude. It's dope. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm in.
All right.
Yeah.
What's a big bucket list place for you to go?
Oh, okay. So I want to like do this every year. I say I'm going to do it and then I don't do it, but it's kind of not just a place, but it's a thing. Like I want to like show up on the helicopter and jump out and snowboard down a mountain. Right. So it's like, you know, like private helicopter snowboarding. That's what I want to do. That's like a big bucket item. So it's like I'm like not as concerned about the where as to like the what, you know, like I want to do that. And I was going to do it last year, and then I had like a little injury, and then I just pulled my hamstring. So now like, I don't know if I'm toast for this season, but I think I'm all right. So we'll see. But that's something I definitely want to do.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And if you had to plan the perfect date for the whole day, or maybe just a date night for you and your wife, what would you do?
That's a fantastic question. We're kind of simple, right? So for sure, we'd like to go somewhere good to eat. We like to eat at Sushi on Fire in Long Beach.
That place is pretty good. I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah, so we like that sushi. So we'd probably like somehow end up there. We might take a hike in Palo Verde. You know, that's like our good like fun hiking spot. And then actually we might just like chill. I'm sorry, let me redo it. So there's a hotel that we like to go to. We try to go there once a year. It's called Bacara. It's on the coast up by Santa Barbara. It's in Goleta, California. And we saw it when we were first getting like some money. We got an Amex, and you know how the Amex, they send you like the little like card, like, oh, if you get here, you could stay there or whatever, right? Like the dream, like the rich people stay there, right? So anyways, we were like, one day we're gonna stay there. And then it's pretty expensive though, right? And it's Ritz-Carlton. So anyways, we stayed there, and every year that we stay there, it's like been different. Like when we first stayed there, I had a company car, and I was like embarrassed to like valet the car because everybody had like these nice cars, and I had this like Ford Focus, and I had like a logo with like a bug on the side of it. It was crazy. And then we've kind of like elevated year over year financially, right? But the experience was still the same. We went to this hotel that's crazy nice, and it has beachfront property, and everything just feels different there, man. Like the water in the pool feels like silky. The food just seems to like melt in your mouth. And then the beds, the last time we stayed there, we stayed in like a real small room, but the bed is so comfortable that I woke up, and I was under a lot of stress at this time, but I woke up and I felt just peace. And I told my wife, you can ask me any question and I have the answer. Like that. like you can ask me anything about our family or our business or anything. Like ask me anything and I have the answer. Because my brain just felt like as clear as it had felt in a decade, I promise. And I hate to be like, oh, like money gets you that or something. But that particular resort, the way that they make it work, it was like I just felt so much peace and relaxation. It was like, man, and she feels like that too. She just like loves that place. So it's Bacara in Goleta, California, and it's like, man, I just love that place.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure my wife is eavesdropping
and
writing it down right now.
I want you to go there and tell me how it went, because like it's so like they have this one thing. I'll just tell you this part. They have this like steakhouse. When we ate there, they're like, oh, like what do you want? And my wife got like a salad or something. It's like, what do you want? It's like, oh, I'll get the ribeye. And then they're like, cool. So then a minute later, this like guy shows up with this briefcase, and he opens the briefcase and he's like, which carving utensil would you like, sir? And it's all these like handmade knives. And I was like, can you like come back and let me film this? Cause this is crazy. Like I don't go to places where we just pick knives, you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, that place is dope. Good little date weekend, you know?
All right, we'll check that out someday.
Yeah, man. Bacara, that's the one.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. Where can the people find you?
So we have Five Walnut Construction is our Instagram handle. So Five Walnut Construction, at Five Walnut Construction, that's our Instagram handle. And then I'm actually, my middle name is Benjamin, so it's Ben Lopez at Instagram. That's where you can find us. And I'm trying to build my own thing up, but right now Five Walnut's kind of like our bread and butter. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, man.
Anything you want to tell the people?
Man, hit the gas pedal. That's my thing. Hit the gas pedal. I think like, you really do only have one life. So I think you got to hit the gas pedal. And I think, I know it. When you hit the gas pedal and you give a little more effort and you ask more from yourself, your gas tank gets more filled. You'll get more energy. You'll get more responsibility. You'll get more stress, but you'll get a lot more blessing, man. You got to go. This life isn't for coasting and cruising. It's really not. It's for going. So hit the gas pedal. That's my encouragement. Bless you guys.
All right.
Yeah, bless you, man.
You heard it here from Mark Lopez. We're going to put that on a shirt. Hit the gas pedal.
Hit the gas pedal, bro.
We'll put your G-Wagon on it.
Right. My wife's G-Wagon. Thanks, dude. Good stuff, man. That's fun.